So, it's good to be back. 2024. I had an amazing Christmas with my family, amazing New Year. Put on way too much weight. Didn't do any exercise. I went back to my first jiu-jitsu session last week and it was tough. I was blowing. I thought I was going to bring up like the 18 mince pies that I've eaten. Oh, Christmas dinner. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all the food I had. I'm grateful for all the good times I had. There's some people out there in the world that are going through some tough times at the minute. So yeah, I don't. I take the holidays. I massively appreciate the holidays I had. They were amazing, but it's time to get back to work. I did spend quite a bit of time reading, looking at some leadership stuff, as I do. And yeah, there's so many things I want to talk about. I've got lists and lists and lists of things I want to talk about. There's one thing in particular that jumped out. I want to read you it. First thing I want to talk about this year, and it is an extract from, or it was a quote that was said by Jose Mourinho. Now, Jose Mourinho, if you don't know, was or is a soccer manager in I don't know where he is now, but he's from Portugal. He's managed some of the biggest teams in the world: Real Madrid, Chelsea. He was hugely successful at Chelsea, Manchester United, FC Porto, Roma. I think that's where he is now. Was it Inter Milan? I think he was Inter Milan for a bit. He's managed some amazing teams. So anyway, he wrote this quote, and I want to read you it. It is. It gave me a lot to think about. So, this is Jose Mourinho on the difference between being a captain and being a leader in a team. Being a captain and wearing the armband doesn't mean being a leader. I had a captain. Sorry. I had a captain who couldn't be a leader. People associate wearing the armband with being the team leader. It's not like that. Several times the captain is not the leader. Javier Zanetti and John Terry, yes, they were. When you have these types of players in the locker room, you can focus more on just being a coach. At Porto, for example, I had Jorge Costa. I remember one day we were losing 2-0 at the end of the first half against Belenenses, and I was about to storm into the changing room. Before entering, he made me wait 2 minutes outside. When he'd finished talking and let me in, I just had to deal with the tactical matters, because he had already taken care of the rest, the dirty work. He did everything I should have done. In the end, we won this match 3-2, and Jorge Costa scored 2 goals despite having never scored a goal in his life. There is a big difference between a captain and a leader. You can't buy leaders or create leaders. But when you have a leader on your team is one step ahead. Unfortunately, the world of football is now all about image and people focus, more on those who claim to be the leaders rather than those who really are. So, that to me is fascinating. That is fascinating because he's saying 2 things there. One is the person in charge, the person in charge of the team, the person making the decisions, might not necessarily be the leader of the team. And he also says the person, in reference to the manager, but he also says the person who's the captain might not necessarily be the leader. So, I thought long and hard about this, and I thought about it in a lot of situations. And if you have a team where, use football again for the example. If you have an incredibly tactically minded manager, coach of any sport, and he's a genius. He knows how to get the best out of everyone. He's very good at creating that culture on an individual, manipulating everyone to get onto the same wavelength. But I think to have a leader within the team, that leader isn't necessarily the one who's making the decisions, but everyone in that team will respond to that leader. If the leader doesn't like something that's being said by the manager, the rest of the team will generally follow that leader. If the leader says, stop your whining, we are going to carry on, we are going to do this, we are going to run into danger, we are going to commit ourselves, then the team will follow. So yeah, I thought of this in a military environment as well. The person who is leading a specific group, let's say 8, 12, 16, however many is in that group, might be an incredibly good leader, but they're not in charge because there's someone giving them orders. But that group might not follow anyone else. That group will only follow those orders because that they trust that leader, and that leader has agreed to... They know that that leader wouldn't put them in unnecessary danger. So I feel that there's a very, very, very interesting dynamic between what people think are, who people think are leaders, and when people think someone's in charge. I think there's a very big difference. If you look at any group, if you look at where you work, anywhere, really, I suppose even some big families, you've got the person who makes the decisions. And then you've got that one person that everyone will follow. Whether they know it or not, I think sometimes it can be subconscious. I think there are times where I've seen it before in classrooms, in school classrooms and university classrooms. There is someone who, by asking the questions that no one else wants to ask, everyone turns to them to ask the difficult questions, and they kind of end up in this weirdly automatic leadership role, even though they're not in charge of the lesson. They're not in charge. The lecturer is in charge of the lesson. The lecturer is the person who's making the decisions, giving them the assignments. But that one person who will question and who will ask the question that everyone else is thinking but no one else says, everyone seems to gravitate towards them and say, if something comes up and it's difficult, says to them, do you want to do it? And I feel that people gravitate towards someone that they feel safe around. They feel have their best intentions. And even if they don't have their best intentions, they have the same intentions. So if there is someone who will question the validity of a task, even if it's for self-gain, like why am I doing this task? Everyone else will then start following them and going, well, he's asking it. So I feel that the leader isn't necessarily the person in charge, but sometimes it can be. And I want to look at the traits of what makes that person the leader a lot more, but I'm seeing this more and more, this pattern of the person who makes the right decisions, asks the right questions, naturally ends up becoming a focal point for everyone in that group who doesn't have the confidence to ask those questions. They want to stand behind that person, and because it makes them feel safe. So yeah, and even if it's nothing to do with safety, so say in that sporting environment, you've got someone who says to the person in charge, "Leave that to me a minute. You leave that to me." And again, it doesn't even need to be the captain. So say in that environment where you had Jose Mourinho, and he's got an issue with his team, I would be say I was in his team, and I was pissed at the rest of my team. They've done something wrong. They're not. We're losing. Whatever the case may be. I would say to even my captain, I'd be like, "You get out of my way. You get out of my way 2 minutes. I have something to say." And I would be kind of not just having a go at everyone because it make me look like a dick, but I would be galvanizing everyone and just saying, "We are better than this. This is embarrassing. We're one of the best. We are one of the best teams in the world. This is not right. I know everyone in here can be better. I can be better. I want to go out there and work my ass off, but I don't want to be the only one. I want to make my family proud. I don't want to let any of you down." I just think, I'm not saying that's the whole thing, but obviously I think I would then, even if my captain was in the room, I would be saying, I don't want to let my captain down. My captain is going to take responsibility if the team win or lose, and I don't want any of you to let him down. We need to do this for him. We need to do this for the manager, because those are the two that are going to take all the shit for this. So I'm not undermining the captain. I'm not saying I'm in charge, but what I will say to everyone is we all need to listen to what he has to say. So, in a way, I'm kind of, without meaning to, putting myself in the funnel. So if you've got the coach, the captain, and then me, I'm the top of that funnel. So, in a way, I would then end up being the most powerful person in that room, weirdly, because I've got the followership of everyone there. Obviously not from that one speech, but I'm just saying, if you do end up being the focal point of that group, you do inadvertently become the most powerful person in the room. Maybe not the decision maker, but the most powerful one. I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but I'll find it interesting. So here's another great example of that similar sort of situation where someone ends up in charge. Aliens. The film Aliens, the second one. The one with Sigourney Weaver. It was on TV the other night, and there was a part in it that just jumped out to me. I was flicking through the channels. I didn't even watch the whole film. I was flicking through the channels, and I thought, I love this film. I've seen it in ages. And there was one bit that just jumped out at me, and it was when they're already on the base on this planet. They've already been attacked, and Hudson has a meltdown. He's like, "We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die." And Ripley, it jumped out to me because Ripley said, "Calm yourself down. Listen, I need you to go and do A, B, C. You have to go and do that now. We need to do this. We need to do this. You need to calm down." He calms down. And he's like, okay, I'll go and do it. And that jumped out to me because immediately, and this is the most important bit, male or female, I don't think it matters. I genuinely don't think it matters whether you're male or female. In that situation, the way she acted with composure, which is one of those words that I am very strongly putting in my leadership ingredients box. the composure she had in that environment. That might be because she's already, I mean, you could say she's dealt with these aliens before, like in the first film. But at the same time, the threat is still there. She's still, if anything, she should be more afraid because she knows how likely it is she's going to die. But she's not. She's very calm. She's very composed. She tells him basically to get a fucking grip. And these are soldiers that, again, and I know obviously this was very well written, but these are soldiers who are supposed to be used to this sort of environment, and he loses his shit. And he's very composed. Sorry, she's very composed, and that one scene just went. I just thought, wow. And then literally a scene later, or a couple of scenes later, they're looking at the schematics of the base, and bear in mind she's in a room full of soldiers, and she says, right, I think we need to block this bit up, someone needs to go and do this, someone needs to go and do this, and no one argues. No, like, okay, because she's very calm but very decisive, and everything she says makes sense. There is nothing in there that you would say. She's not going to go in. She's not saying, and this is important, the words that she's saying are not, well, I think we could if we blocked up these bits. No, she's not saying, well, I think if we block these bits up, they probably won't be able to get in. Has anyone else got a better idea? No, she's saying, right, we need to block this. Someone needs to go here. Someone needs to go here. This will keep them out. Everything is very factual, affirmative, these are the directions of what we are going to do. No thinks, no shoulds. There is no doubt in what she's saying. There is no, I'm trying to be the leader. It's very calm. Calm, this is what needs to happen. That combination of calmness and it's like a composed assertiveness, I suppose you would call it. Because she's not saying, right, this is what we have to do. What she's saying is, this needs blocking up, this needs blocking up, this needs blocking up. And it's all factual. There's no kind of like, well, I think if we block this, these are the facts. These are the ways in. This is what we need to block. What I like about that scene, though, is in real life, some dickhead would be like, well, who put you in charge? And then they'd try and, outdo her and say, what? And then come up with some stupid fucking dickhead idea that gets them all killed just because this person's ego won't let them listen to someone else. Because it's an insecurity thing. Whereas a good leader, say, I'm going to put myself in that box now. Just say, if I was in that situation and she made those decisions, I'm cool. Okay? I haven't got a problem with that. So she's put herself in charge. But it sounds bad. I'm allowing her to be in charge because I agree with what she says. I think at this moment in time, what she says makes a lot of sense. And I only need to say something when I disagree. When I have a problem. But at the moment, you're in charge, girl. And I think it's a very, very, very strong scene. Again, especially for the era and the fact she's a woman. And I did read a story a long time ago about... I might be wrong with this. I'm sure the role of Ripley was initially made for a man. And then they changed it to a woman, and it works really, really well. But I'm sure I read that somewhere. And yeah, she stands out in that scene. She's very calm, composed, in charge. And they all just say, let's get to it. Affirmative, let's go. Very, very good scene in terms of taking control, I think. So there was another film that was on the other night. Hacksaw Ridge. I don't know if anyone's seen it. It's the one with Andrew Garfield. Set in World War II, Americans fighting against Japan, and to set the scene, he wants to go and be a medic on the front line, refuses to pick up a gun, he gets accused of being a coward. The whole thing is about him being able to go and do that. And then when he gets there, they go over the ridge. They all get shot up by the Japanese, and then overnight he lowers people down the cliff to safety, because they climb up this big net to go over the cliff. He lowers them down, all the injured soldiers, in the night, crawling around, because if he stands up, he'll get killed. So he's crawling around, lowers them all down, and I can't remember the numbers, 30, 40, 50. It was a true story as well. It blew my mind. When I've seen the interviews with I can't remember his name, Desmond Doss, the interviews with him, they set me off. They are emotional. What an absolutely amazing human being. The way that man thinks. Anyway, the point I wanted to bring up in terms of leadership is he saves those people's lives. They then are due to go back over the ridge and attack again, and they're going to take the ridge. They're going to try again. They all refused to go over unless Desmond was with them. Now, isn't that amazing that these soldiers, some of them didn't know him. I think most of them didn't know him, but because of what they'd heard he'd done, they would follow him anywhere within reason, but they didn't want to go up there without him. So for me, that's incredibly powerful. So that says that your reputation can give you a lot of power, put you in a leadership position. Technically, he wasn't a leader, because I think he was a private. I'm sure he was a private. So he's like the lowest rank, and they're all like, yeah, we're not going up without him. So he now has a very powerful role in that he, due to his bravery and how safe they feel with him, safety, and this is what I've said 100 times, safety, due to how safe they feel with him. I mean, they're just about to go over the top of a cliff to run up machine guns, yet they feel safer with him. How amazing is that? That to me was, again, it says a lot. I mean, what does it say? It says that it doesn't matter your position. It doesn't matter if you try and put yourself in charge. Sometimes it's about your actions more than your words, your integrity. And what did I say before about protectiveness? Your protectiveness as a person, I think, says a lot. And when you're put in a situation where you automatically want to protect people, I think people are drawn to that because they feel safer around you. And obviously, in an army situation, it's going to be a lot bigger, as in the need to feel safe. But in everyday life, I believe even if you're the head of your house, male or female, this is a whole nother subject, but if you are the person in your house that makes everyone else feel safe, then I believe that it creates a very beautiful home environment where these people aren't worried and they will follow you because they feel safe around you. And going back to that Desmond Doss example, the thought of you imagine you're one of those soldiers who says, I'm not going anywhere without him. Now, he might not be intelligent. He might not be tactically aware. He obviously isn't holding a gun, so he's not going to be the best fighter. So why are they following him? And it's because of how they feel. It's not even how he's making them feel. He's not saying a word to them, but because of his reputation, how they feel around him. I suppose it would it would be a similar feeling to if you were fighting with Achilles. So say like in the film Troy, when you've got Achilles who's just like the most badass warrior ever, and he seems invincible, it would make you feel so much safer. And I think that feeling of safety is something that most people are drawn to. So even in an office environment, I think a lot of people don't like confrontation, and if you are happy to take that confrontation away from them, people are drawn to you because they feel safer behind you. I mean, I've said it to people loads of times. I love confrontation. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me why. And I'm not saying, getting in the ring and fighting. I'm not saying that. But I love being in an argument. I loved it my whole life. I don't know why. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, I'm right. But I think what it is, I like putting bullies in their place. I don't like arguing with people if it's not necessary, or if I feel that person is distressed or upset or anything like that. But I love putting bullies in their place. But yeah, anyway, that whole Desmond Doss example, I think is incredibly interesting, and I am going to definitely look at that a little bit more, because it'd be interesting to figure out why people are following him. Why? It's safety. I'm sure that's it. How safe they feel behind him, with him, and I think that is a massive essential ingredient for natural leadership. So that's kind of it for tonight. Short and sweet. Just those three things that jumped out, really. Some thoughts on, like I said, Mourinho and his observation of people being leaders who aren't even in the leadership position. Same again with in Aliens and Ripley just automatically becoming leader. And then as well with the whole Desmond Doss situation, he automatically became leader. So I think there are a lot of situations where situational leadership, where they just happen to become leaders. Was it meant? Was it not? Is it personality? And what is it? Why? So yeah, a lot of food for thought there. I hope you enjoyed those little thoughts. Yeah, I'm going to try and get a lot more regularly now. I'm going to try and get quite a few more videos up, because I've just got so much. I can't keep up. I can't keep up with my brain and the amount of thoughts there are and the amount of things that I want to talk about. So I just want to keep spitballing all these ideas. I'd love to hear, love to hear back from people about if there's any ideas you've got, anything you want me to bring up, research, conversations. I really want to talk to more people about their interpretation of leadership, their opinion on leadership. I'm going to try and get as many interviews in as I can this year. I want to crack it. I want to crack the code. So, yeah. I will thank you for your time, and I will speak to you again soon. You will hear from me again soon. So cool. See you then.